All right, so let's get started. Today, the plan that I have for us is I would like to show you how to create an archive file in Eclipse, because you need to start submitting your homework now. And so the homework, as we learned with Eclipse, you can't submit the individual file. It has to be on a project level. And the most efficient way from both sides, I think, to make this happen is to create Eclipse archive file. Those are, you can't use 7-zip or any other tool. It has to be through Eclipse. So I'm going to show you how to make this, and I'll let you practice so that you leave here knowing how to create. It's not that hard, but you just need to have the skill. And then after that, we're going to go over chapter 2, which is how to write basic Java programs. I'm just going to share with you a lot of syntax rules that will allow you to build basic Java programs. We're going to do the exercises at the end of the chapter as a hands-on portion of the class. So please make sure to bring your books. You'll be working from the books to read the instructions, and hopefully everyone brought your flash drives with your starting source code, which you also need today. And I also would like to show you the first graded homework assignment. Normally I won't be showing you the homework unless you have a question, but this is the first one to review the grading criteria and just to make sure that you're comfortable doing your homework for this week. So that's the plan. All right? How does that sound? Sounds doable? I hope so. Okay, so let's start with showing you how to create a zip file with Eclipse. Please start your Eclipse if you haven't already.
It's not searching in my thing.
It will not search, so we have to work around the limitations of the setup here. If you don't have it pinned to the taskbar, then you go into C, Program Files x86, Eclipse, and then you have an executable that you can start from here.
Sorry, go slower.
Sure. So let me do this one more time. Okay, so we're now going to open up Eclipse, which is, for those of you who are not here, the ID or the integrated development environment we're going to use to code Java. And unfortunately, Eclipse doesn't show up on the start menu as it should. And so therefore, we're going to go and find it in the folder. C, so go to this PC, C. Let me do this here. And yes, if you want me to slow down or to show something again, just let me know. Okay, so on C, Program Files x86, Eclipse, and here it is. And you can double click on it to get it started. But before you do that, I would recommend to try again to pin it to start or to the taskbar so that next time it's showing up for you here. Okay? So right now, I'm just going to double click to get it started. And the latest version we have installed is the Neon version, as opposed to Mars, and Luna, and some other ones. And here we go. Pick the workspace that showed up for you, and then load Eclipse.
Just click on OK.
Yeah, just click on OK. All right, so here is Eclipse. We can close the startup screen. Do you have any projects loaded by any chance right now or no?
Yes.
Okay.
My computer is not as good as yours. Here's the...
What I'd like to show you is how to zip the file now, but you have to have a project here. Is there anyone who doesn't have a project? Raise your hand. All right, let's quickly make one. For some of you, it's going to be a review. So this will just close this out here. This is the startup screen, and now you are where we are. Yeah, except I have some projects. So if you remember, try to create a new project such as Hello World 1. Or if not, let's make one together, and then we're going to zip up Hello World 1. I want to remind you with Eclipse that if you already have a file or a project, it will not allow you to have another one with the same name. So that's why let's do Hello World 1, since some of us already have Hello World. All right, this should be a good review in any case. So forgetting that we have some projects here in the Package Explorer, we're going to say File, and I need everyone to work with me now. File New, Java Project, and let's name this project Hello World 1. Again, the location will show you where your file is getting placed. So if you wanted to look at the actual files, not from Eclipse, but from the hard disk, the file will be under C, users, username, workspace, and so on. This all looks good here as long as you have Java SC 1.8, and then we'll just say finish. And now you have a Hello World 1 project, right? And now inside the project, we need to add our Hello World file. So we do so by right-clicking on the source package and then new class. In Java, everything is a class. And this will be Hello World 1. And we leave the modifier to public, and we can click on the public static void main. Who remembers what this method does? Does anyone remember? Tell me your name, please. Casey, do you remember? Okay.
It's the method when Hans finds out when the program is started.
Is the method where the entry of the program begins. So the program starts executing from the main. And so we want to have a main because we want to execute our Hello World. And as I mentioned, if you forgot to check this, that's okay. You can just handwrite the method stub definition, no problem, but we can get Eclipse to help us. So click here and then finish. And now we have a Hello World 1 class, and inside the class, public void main. And we're almost there. We're going to add a system out print line, which is the way we print to the console in Java. And we'll print Hello World 1. And that's a literal string, so we have to put it in quotation marks, double quotation marks, and we end with semicolon because every statement ends with a semicolon. And when you finish writing your Hello World, Control F11 will allow you to test it. And you can see on the console here, it printed out Hello World.
Control F11.
Control F11, you can also press the green button, the green run arrow for the same effect. You like the keyboard? So Control F11.
Visual Studio is so much easier.
Control 11.
I don't know, Control F11.
F11.
That's up for debate. Anderson?
Yes, it's just F5.
All right. Okay, in any case, did everyone get this working? Great. So then the reason we created this file is so we can make an archive file out of it. So we're going to say file, and please do this with me, and then I'm going to let you do this one more time by yourself, because this is how you need to submit your homeworks. Question? Are you raising your hand? Okay. So file, we want to export. an archive file. And then you say next. So we have 3 different files. We only want one. So the one we wanted is hello world 1. And then select here the, I guess this is from, so the hello world 1 is the only one that we want. Select that, and then we're going to browse. And I'm going to put it on the desktop just because it's easy. And then you give it a name, such as hello world 1. It doesn't have to be. And then save and finish. I was expecting this to prompt me to add the class path in the project, and it didn't. So in any case, hopefully this will work fine. And now if I go on the desktop, here is a file, hello world 1, that we just zipped up. This would be the file you're going to submit as your homework. Canvas would only allow you to submit those zip files. And again, it has to be zipped up with Eclipse as opposed to any other tool such as 7-zip, because otherwise we can't open it. And this reminds me that Michelle is not here tonight, the student who was sitting here last time, but she will expect her grading your assignments when she's back from her trip, and also she'll be helping in the classroom. All right. Okay, so we have a zip file, and now let's bring it back inside Eclipse. Now, if it's already here, then that will not work, as we have learned. So we have a couple options. Let me magnify, sorry, here we go, so you can see. We can either delete this file or we can switch a workspace. It has to be a workspace that doesn't contain it. So I'm just going to switch the workspace to show you how. So go under File, Switch Workspace, Other, and then I'll create Workspace 1. Then I'm nothing in the Explorer, and then I want to import. So import, instead of saying file, existing projects into workspace. And then here you select archive file. Okay.
Wait, is it import under file?
Okay, so it's import general existing projects into workspace. Should I back out one more step? It's under file, yes.
Yeah, so file, import, okay,
And then you're where I am.
I see.
Okay, so existing workspace, select archive file. And then you find the file. Finish, and now it appears to be here. And just to make sure, it seems to work fine. So it's running on the console. And this is how you'd import it back.
Import project, and then select the file and then
Let's see here. Select archive file. Okay. Did you switch the workspace?
Yeah.
So it should have worked. So go ahead and say import general existing projects. Next. Okay. Browse. Okay. Did you zip it within? It looks like it wasn't zipped properly because it's saying that it didn't find any projects. So maybe it seems to me like, did you zip it within Eclipse as I showed you?
Yeah.
Well, then let's do it again because it's not recognizing it. Can you switch to the workspace where your file was?
I'm not sure what I'm doing.
Okay, so go File. File. Switch workspace. Okay, that's what it will do. It will restart. I want to show you something else, and then I'm going to let you practice. Sometimes your entire Eclipse. Oh, go ahead.
Sorry. So this is for getting our homework back, right? You see the comments or?
Right. So what I showed you was what you'll be doing is you archive the file and then upload it to Canvas, and then Michelle and I will download it and test
That's
it.
how you download it.
But if you're at school and you want to transport a file, and maybe you have multiple files, you can archive it just to make it easier for you instead of having multiple files.
Okay.
And then if you did that, then when you went home, you would import it as I showed you. But I'm going to give you some time to practice again this process because I want to make sure you have it down and I can look at it if it didn't work for you. Just show you one other thing. Sometimes your Eclipse space, the panes here are going to get out of sync and they're going to close and it's going to look different and you'll be feeling lost. So what you can do is you can go to Window, Perspective, and then Reset Perspective is going to bring back Eclipse to the original view, which is what you want. So if your Eclipse starts looking different and you don't want it, you don't like how it looks and it's confusing, remember always to go to Window, Perspective, Reset Perspective, and this will bring back the original view, which is the one you're probably comfortable with by now. Okay? That's not related to archive files. I'm just showing you now because I just remember you. So let's go ahead and create another project with help too, or just I'd like you to more time archive file, export it to the somewhere, and import new works. 10 minutes, and then I'll walk around. If you have issues, I'll help you. So I want to make sure everyone knows how to do that. Did it work for you the second time? So what were the issues? Takes practice. Just do it again, and this should help. Yeah. Let's see.
So when I do close, is
So it's already there. So if it's there, it will not allow you to do it again. So you have to remember that.
But we're doing this to just import the file.
We're practicing how to archive a file, export it, and then import it like in Eclipse. So you may need to create another little project like Hello World 2. Yes, so the steps are
Yes.
to create the project, and then create the class. But I click on it. And, yes, I'll be right there. Let me grab a cough drop. Yes, that one.
So this is I created,
Okay.
and then now to export.
Yes.
And then
Then you select the one you want to export.
this one, yeah.
And then you find the place where you want it to be.
This one.
Give it a name.
Oh,
And you say, did you already do this one?
yeah.
Okay. Also, I guess it's
So and that's it.
it's not very hard.
Oh no, what was so
And then
switch.
you can import it to verify it. You can import it. It just has to be in a workspace that doesn't already have that file.
Okay.
Project. So you can switch workspace.
So create anything like
Yes. Yes. I want to show you one other thing. If you don't want to switch workspaces, then you can also delete the project from the existing space, right? So for example, if I wanted to delete Hello World 1, I'll delete. And you can even select delete project on content on disk. This will actually delete the file. So you have to be careful. You have to be careful if you actually want to delete the file from the disk. You don't want to lose your work. But if I did, then that will clear it from the workspace, and then you'll be again able to import. Okay. Can you get you can switch workspace. So yeah, we're going to keep on creating workspace. You might be able to do it from Eclipse. What I'll do is go and just delete the folder on the hard disk. Right? So the workspace is nothing more than a folder. So if I click here, properties, this is in S Meredith workspace 1. Let's take a look at this workspace. So again, it's nothing more than a folder, but let's take a look for ourselves here. So we set users. Oops. Here they are, they're just folders, workspace and workspace 1. And in workspace 1 is Hello World 1. All right. So you can delete it if you want to. Okay. Are we okay now with archiving and zipping and unzipping?
One really quick question. When you
Sure.
export it, what was the option again? Export and file export.
Yes, so file, export. And then I know it's actually not very clear. You just have to memorize it. It's not intuitive, but general archive file. Okay, and then go from there. Okay, so let's look at some slides together. lecture is going to contain a lot of small code snippets like declarations of variables and such. And if you like, you can write them in Eclipse and print them. But unless you're falling asleep, maybe you can just watch the lecture, because then you're going to have about hopefully an hour. I don't know. I'll give you time to work through the exercises at the end of chapter 2, so you can practice what I'm showing you now. Okay. And so some of this might be review from last time, and some of it might be new information. But these are just some very basic Java concepts that should allow you to write the basic Java program going forward. Okay, so now we have a package. So this is a package. Again, what is a package? It's a folder that can contain additional packages or one or more files. And we use it to organize our code, right? We did create a package last time, correct? And then we have a class declaration. The public is what we call access modifier. There are other access modifiers besides public. Public is going to allow this class to be visible from anywhere in the program. So it's a public class. Class is a keyword, meaning a class. And then the class name, as you can see, uppercase convention, multiple letters. They all start with upper first letter of the word is going to be uppercase. And then the curly braces signify the scope, right? So this is the block, the class block, sorry. And then this is the main method with its own curly braces. That's the main method declaration. Can you have more than one method in a class? Yes, absolutely. We just haven't done this yet. Okay, so this is a class with a main method. Oh, and so a string with a square braces after it, it's an array. This is just the convention in which the main is declared. Oh, and then the void keyword what it means is that this particular method is not returning anything. If your method is not returning any results, in Java, we have to state that, and we state it by saying void. Okay, so if it was returning an int or a string, this would be a different data type. But the main doesn't return anything, and therefore we use void. Static means that it's available. We can call static methods without having to instantiate objects that the methods belong to, but we'll talk a lot more about this later. So in any case, you see that if you use the Eclipse, it will create this method stub for you, and for now you can just use it as is. Okay. Some conventions for naming a class. Like as I mentioned, start the name with a capital letter. Every word in the class should start with capital case and use letters and digits only. So that's how you're going to be naming your classes in your programs. All right, these are conventions. Comments. Here's a multi-line comment. Right, so everything between here and here is spelled out. What does Java do with the code? Nothing, right? It ignores them. Why do we need to have comments?
Human, that's not you.
Even you.
No, it's
Yeah. It's an expression, it's a documentation. If somebody else comes in our code, we want them to be able to sign on. Your job, you might want to read your own comment because you have no idea what you did. Is help documented. Single line comments. They can be in the beginning of the line, but can be after call statement. So that's perfectly fine. It helps you comment after the code. You can do so. We're also going to learn to generate comments with Java. Because nice utility you generate comments and automatically document your code. All right.
Oh, no.
Print line and print are methods that come from the system class, and they print line, an entire line, print only print whatever is the data that you're printing, and then the next statement would come on the same line. This was the difference, if you recall. Print line ends with a \n.
Can I sit in the back corner?
Sure, why not?
Thanks very much.
All right. So we haven't looked at the Oracle documentation, and let's take this opportunity to show you, not because it's actually very helpful in this case, but because you need to know how to look up built-in methods that come with the Java API. All right. So for example, if we didn't know what println does, we'll need to research. Let's see here. So Oracle println, Oracle Java println, and here is what comes up. And it's a lot of information. It shows you the hierarchical structure of the classes in the Java API. The root object in Java, the root class in Java is always object. And it brought us to this page. And you can see there is so much information here. So I'm just going to search for println. And there are only 45 references. All right, that's all. Not bad. We got this. Okay, and here are some print lines, and I would like you to notice there. Obviously, it's more than one. Can you see? Is there any difference? So why have they listed so many different ones? Are they all the same, or what? What do you notice here?
Formatting, like this is char, strings, out different data types.
That's exactly it. It's different data types. Well observed. So in other words, the println method is overloaded, and it takes different types of arguments of different data types. And this is how it's very common in Java, the same methods with different data types that you can call it. In our case, we've been using it with a string. So let's just read here. So println public void. So now I told you what void means. Who remembers?
It doesn't return anything.
The println doesn't return anything. It's going to print, but it doesn't actually return a value back to the program, right? And it takes in an argument string x. The documentation says prints a string and then terminate the line. This method behaves as though it invokes print and then println. It takes one parameter, which is x, the string to be printed. Okay. In some cases, the documentation is very helpful, so we know how to use a certain method. But what I wanted to show you mainly is this is the place to go to look up the official documentation for Java. All right.
What website are you on?
Excuse me?
What website are you on? Or are you?
I googled for, I'm on the official Oracle website. I don't know what is it. It's docs.oracle.com. You can Google for Oracle Java and then the name of the method, and it should take you there, but it's docs.oracle.com. And we'll come back and revisit this often. Here. All right, so these are two methods. Okay, so here is a class that prints output to the console. little review of the creation of a project with Eclipse. Now Eclipse, as we might have discovered last time, if you give it the name of an object and then use what we call the dot operator, it's going to give you a drop down of the available methods that belong to this class. Right? So in this case, the system has all these methods available to it, and you can use the autocomplete feature to complete your statements instead of hand typing it, which is good because I don't know about you, but I make typos when I type, and I think many of us do. So that's a nice feature of the code editor. And the other nice feature is that it's going to catch syntax errors for you, and it might give you even hints as to how to solve them. Do you remember what we encountered recently where we had a syntax error last time, and then we used it to import, I'm sorry? We had to add a library, we had to import the scanner class so that we can use the scanner. And it actually showed us an option, and we just double clicked and it did the work for us. Okay. Java data types. There are 8 primitive data types. So when we say primitive, that means they're not objects. And the 2 that are numerical are the int and the double. The int is used for representing whole numbers. The double is used to represent decimals, such as 25.55, for example.
So no float,
I'm sorry?
no floats.
The double is like a float, but it's called double. Here are some syntax declarations. I don't expect that's news for you. So we have a double. Well, if you come from JavaScript or Python, in Java, we need to specify the name of the data type when we declare a variable, right? We can just say var. So in this case, we have to say that the product price is a double. So you say the data type. It can be int, double, string, and so on. And then you assign the value to the variable. Do you have any question? Okay. And then the single equal, unlike in math, it's an assignment operator, so it's going to assign values rather than check for equality. If you wanted to check for equality, does anyone know or remember? How about equal? That's the one. All right. Okay, and you can also initialize and assign value in the same statement, which is actually more handy, more quick, more compact. And this is how you declare variables in your code. In this case, happens to be a double. Okay, when you declare variables, you start them with a lowercase, and then after that, we capitalize first letter of each additional word, also known as camel case. The variable should be a noun or a noun and an adjective, because we're going to reserve the verbs for methods, right? When we have methods, we're going to give them names like calculate result, calculate sum. I can't think of another verb, but return, verbs. And make sure to use meaningful names to define your variables, right? These are the Java keywords. There are 50 of them. They're reserved keywords in the language, and you cannot use those words to name your variables. That would not be okay, right? So we're already getting familiar with some of those words, and by the end of the class, we'll be familiar with many, if not all of them, because we won't be doing threading in this class, for example, but we'll be familiar with more of them. But here, the reason they are shown again is because you can't name your variable this, as much as it might sound like a good idea, right? So just your own identifiers that are not Java reserved keywords. Okay, and this question might have come up before. After you declare a variable such as quantity, when you need to use it next time, you don't declare it again. This will give you a syntax error. You just use it by the name. So you only declare it with a data type the first time, and after that you just call it by the name and then you use it, right? Otherwise, I mean, it's not really a big problem because it's going to be a syntax error and it will teach you to not do it. Something else that comes up with the assignments, using the incorrect case. So Java is case sensitive, which means that if you first declared max quantity with a capital Q and then try using it with a lowercase q, those are two different identifiers. They're not the same identifiers as far as Java is concerned, and it will give you an error, incorrect case. Actually, that's not that it will give you, but it will give you a syntax error. So in other words, pay attention to the case of your variables and anything else that you use. Also, Java ignores white space. So you do want to have white space for human readability, but not from point of view of the interpreter. It doesn't care. All right. I know we're running a little behind on the break, but I would like us to go over the slides. I'll give you a break, and then you can work at your own pace on the lab portion of the class. And if you're done, you'll be done. Okay. Basic arithmetic operators. Do you have any questions? Okay, the modules is not listed here, but we'll talk about it later. If you are dividing a double and an int, Java is going to convert the result to a, what does it look like, int or double? Double. Why would Java do that?
It's more precise. You're gonna lose some data.
Because you don't want to lose data by converting a double to a int.
Will it do it automatically, or if you write the code wrong, will it automatically cut it off like C?
In some cases, in this case, it will do automatically. If it's a method of conversion from a smaller to a larger type, such as here, what Java will do is what is called implicit conversion, and it will do it for you. If it was going the other direction, it would not do it for you. You have to do it yourself if you actually think it's a good idea. Okay, so this is the conversion between double and int. On the other hand, if you have a couple ints and you divide them, and the result is 4, so is this the correct answer?
It cut off.
It cut off, right. It's a correct integer answer, but it's not the correct answer. So if you wanted to actually preserve the decimal, then you should not declare these as integers because it will lose, it will truncate it. It will not even round, it will just remove it, all right? And you can have multiple operators, such as here.
Does it use the same order of operations as C++? Or?
It's the same as in math, so same order of precedence is what we would call. So in here, if what we wanted is to multiply 2 times width and plus 2 times length, we don't need to have parents unless you wanted to, but it would not be necessary. String variables. Remember, in Java, strings have to be declared with double quotation mark. Characters are declared as a single quotation mark. It's very common you might need to have an empty string. So here's an example. An empty string is just 2 quotations with nothing inside. Sometimes you just want to declare a string, but not actually assign a string to it, and you just say this is a null. So you assign something is not really a string, but it has something assigned to it, and that's the null type.
So
it's a
not
null
only
string.
used for strings.
No, you can use nulls for other objects as well.
Is it like the equivalent of undefined?
It's kind of like undefined, but it is defined. It's just we don't know what the value
Could you
is.
do like could you check if it's undefined by checking if it's null?
Yes, you can do that. All right, you can what we call concatenate or join strings together. For example, Bob and Smith would use the plus operator to concatenate strings. So what's happening here is what we call the plus operator is overloaded. It's used in one way to do math, and it's used in another way to do concatenation of strings. And if you wanted a space, you need to add the space yourself. These are, so price here is an example of what we call a literal string. And that means that the way that you define your string within the quotation marks is exactly the way it's going to print out. And so in this case, it will print out including the space here. And you can mix or join strings and variables. So you can say price was the variable, and that's fine, no problem. Escape sequences. If you wanted to have a new line or a tab, you can add these to your strings by using the escape sequence, which is a backslash and then the letter shown here. So for example, call JSP \n, and as you can see, price is on the next line because \n is a new line and it will bring the rest of the code on the following line. All right. And here's a tab, and then a return, and another tab. And you do still have to use the quotation marks because these are strings. Now, if you say something like that, you're going to get a compiler error because Java is going to be confused now. Is this the end of this quotation mark or what's happening here? So that will not work. But sometimes you want to have quotation marks inside strings. That's fairly common. So how do you do this? You precede the quotation mark inside the quotation mark with a backslash. So in other words, you make it an escape sequence, and then it will work. Okay? And the same with if you need to use slashes. And that's it. And then after we take our 10-minute break, we can look together at the code tester application, and then I'll let you work through the exercises which allow you practice. Also, after break, let's remember to look at the homework though. So 10-minute break, please. See you in 10 minutes.
Is this class equivalent to C
142.
C142?
Yeah,
It is.
it's similar.
I'm actually
Yeah.
taking 142 right now.
Well, it's the same thing.
Oh, so I should probably not be here then.
Yeah, I don't know about that, but it's a Java 1 class.
I see. Oh, jeez. Okay.
Thank you, though I have the wrong class, the VMware's in the other class and not in here.
Okay.
It's not working.
I probably need to drop this class in exchange for another class.
Was that?
I probably need to drop this class.
Okay, sounds good. Just make sure to drop it so you don't get a 0.
No, I need to switch it. I don't know if they still open.
I think they close at 4:30.
Oh no.
Yeah.
I was just looking through generating random numbers and the stuff from the module. It says you use this class in assignment 2, but I didn't see anything in assignment 2 where we generate a random number.
Because I ended up making that assignment 3, I decided to add an easier assignment first, so it's coming up. I usually do this as a second, and I'm always rushing to cover the material, and I just.
What's what you had originally for the second assignment and no longer the second assignment?
The second assignment now is to to just calculate the rectangle perimeter and area.
Oh, okay.
This is what you saw.
That's what I saw.
Yeah. Normally it's the guessing game where the user enters a number and you have to guess.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's right. So we'll get to that.
Thank you.
Okay, good luck.
Do you go by Stenny?
Stunning, but yeah,
Stunning?
stunning.
Do you know anything about Visual Basic?
No, and I don't want to. I mean, I know about it, but
That's. Do you know anything about Visual Basic?
I don't know if Steve Conn remembers Visual Basic. I didn't make this specific. It doesn't. I'm sorry.
No.
Some people do apparently.
It's very rare.
So, actually, hardcore.
You usually see it in the DA.
Used GIS. You know GIS? It's used extensively in GIS. Actually, it's how everyone, Visual Basic and Python are how the entire program is built.
Actually, I was just talking with another student today who was doing an internship in one of the King County something or other, and one of the languages they use is Visual Basic, but they are migrating out of it.
Yeah. I mean, they don't use Visual Basic in Microsoft anymore.
Right.
I mean, it's frowned upon.
So,
It's funny.
the city of Seattle's our GIS department, I
They're
talked to
using it.
them,
Yeah.
and they told me that I should apply for their internship. Yeah. And they listed Visual Basic as one of the things they use.
Right. So you want to brush up on it, but I'm not your guy.
That's fine, I understand. I can just find the internet.
You can check with Steve. He might, because he works more with Microsoft languages.
I think there's still some tutorials on Channel 9.
And I also found a local library too, an e-library book, but I just
I might have one if I can do that somewhere.
oh, and it's visualbasic.net. That's what we're talking about, right?
Yeah, then you should talk with Steve Conger probably. He teaches .NET, so he might have at least some resources for you.
Yeah, that's all I really. Thank you.
Visual Basic.
Wow, I didn't expect that. Anyway, I don't know anything about this. So.
No, I'm just being, I don't know. Brian is like provoking me to make fun of it. It's not fair, Brian. Stop it.
When I worked at Washington Mutual, they were changing their CRM, and they did it was built in Visual Basic for a temporary solution, and it crashed left and right. Totally unreliable.
I tried to use Visual Basic already.
Yeah.
I tried to do a development app in nursery and it crashed. So then I gave up.
It's
Yeah.
like even with the VBA, you pretty.
Is it even supported? Does Microsoft?
They,
No. It's fascinating. Visual Basic and Access.
Look like that. One of the things I work with built a suite that would crawl the network to see what hardware compatibility, hardware that was on systems, so you could pull up your machine and see that Reddit all the hardware compatibility was WMIC. And you create this elaborate database, and so the only reason you like use it is you have to reach Ohio. Right. You can do some stuff, good stuff there.
All right. Is
So
it
if you go
time?
to Plural site, they have a VB.NET fundamentals class support you can go to. So if you haven't already, sign up for DreamSpark.
I mean, I have it.
Okay, so then you get a free Plural site subscription with that.
And plus, that's like a online course.
Yeah, it's way better than Windows, personally.
All right, let me write this down real quick.
Really? Better than Index.
You said,
It's professionals done by professionals that teach it.
What they call it?
Pluralsight.
Pluralsight.
So if you write down the Dream Spark and send it for you already get a subscription fee.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What was your name?
Brian.
Brian. You've obviously been this before, right?
Yeah. Kind of.
What time do we start our break? Did anyone notice? Yeah. Okay, so I think it's about time to get started. Homework. This is your assignment 2, and I wanted to make sure to show you not just the homework assignment itself, but more importantly, the grading criteria, which will be the case for every assignment going forward. So you need to know and be aware of it. When you submit your assignment, when we test it, we're going to check, does the code run? If the code doesn't run, so in other words, if it doesn't compile, if you have syntax errors, you're only going to get 20 points. So you want to make sure to submit code that runs. After the code runs, is your code correct in terms of executing, accomplishing the task that's given for the assignment, right? So this is 40 points, and one way you can think about it is most assignments are going to have 3 parts to them. They're going to have, do you remember from Python IPO?
Input processing.
There you go, input, processing, output. And you can roughly split up the 40 points between input processing. Does your program take input from the user correctly? Does it process, for example, does it calculate correctly the value? Does it output correctly? And then add comments and just make your code look nice, and that's another 10 points for 100 points possible total for your homeworks. All right? And make sure to submit it in the format we extensively discussed earlier. If I can't run it, I'm going to have to kick it back to you. So our first assignment, your first assignment is to write a program to calculate the area and perimeter of a rectangle. And this is about the easiest assignment I can think of because it even hard codes the values. So you don't even have to get it from the user. You just hard code them in the program, and then you calculate it. And then you have the perimeter formula, and I'll let you look up, or hopefully you don't have to look it up, but the area of a rectangle, right? And then print the results. If you were really bored because this is too simple for you already, then you can try to remember how to get the user input instead of hard coding those values. So the user can enter different numbers, and then you do the calculation with different numbers instead of always those two.
And when is this due? Today?
No, this is, yeah, today. That's a good one. It's due next Monday. They always do once a week.
I've had crazier teachers before.
Crazier than me? Really? Okay. But your assignments will be due on the following Mondays, generally speaking, unless I have to give you extension for some reasons. So this is due on Monday the 16th by 5 p.m. And remember, if it's late, you're going to lose 20 points. If it's late a week, you will lose all your points, so make sure to turn it in on time. Questions, comments?
Is it okay to observe?
What was that?
Is it okay day not observe on Monday?
Is it on Monday?
Yeah.
Yeah, there you go, see? So if it's a Monday and we don't have a class, I'll probably move this to the Wednesday.
If we do the user entered data to add, do we need to validate the data?
You can, I'm not giving you extra credit for it because I just didn't,
Yeah.
I haven't set it up for extra credit. You don't have to, but you could if you wanted to. Just, you can push yourself as much as you want, or you can just do a basic, and that still should allow you to practice what we're covering today. But I think Brian is yet again correct that we probably don't have a class on Monday.
Yeah, it's Monday.
And so therefore, this will not be due until Wednesday. So you have extra time. I'll make a change on Canvas. It seems like the beginning of the quarter is always catching me by surprise. I don't know about you, but okay. So that's the homework, and this is the code tester app. So I wanted to run it for you, and then I'll let you work on it. So this is the starting code, and you can control F11, and it will display code price, quantity, total, and goodbye. And pretty much it just does these basics that I showed you on the slides, declaring variables of different data types, doing a little bit of math here, and then creating a string, message string that you're going to print to the user. And please go ahead and start on page 61. There are 3 exercises for you to experiment with the code tester application. If you don't have a book, then work with your neighbor, and I have one book I can let someone borrow temporarily. And you can try to get through all of the exercises. If you're done, you're done. If you finish, you can start working on your homework. But that's what we have planned for today. And normally when I have a lab like this, it's open lab, so you can sort of manage your time a little bit. Okay? Sure, but give it back down. I'll let you remember to give it back to me, please. And maybe you can, if anybody else, does anyone else need a
Do you
book?
want to write it?
Well, what you can do is, I'm not saying you should do this, but you can take a copy of Jill's on your phone or something so you can see. Jill, can you let him take a look, please? Okay, does anyone else need, not have access to the assignments? All right.